Hey there guys. So for this week's video I wasn't really planning on doing this, but I was just clearing out my room the other day, and I came across something that must have been from about a year and a half ago, and I thought that it would be a good idea to talk to you guys about it and show you it. And it's just related to the fact that change can be possible so long as you do put your mind towards something, and that you essentially have a goal in mind for things that you actually want to achieve in life. So, maybe 1.5 years ago, I was really counting every calorie that I was having, and this was right after I came out of the eating disorder unit. And I was put onto a meal plan, and I was trying to follow it religiously to the point where I was counting every single calorie, and it had to be X amount of calories by the end of the day, no matter what. And I mean, I kind of understand the reason why I was doing it this way, because I just wanted to make sure that everything was right and there was no wiggle room for me to try and slip back. But in the end, it was quite difficult to get out of, because I found it comforting to be in that position where I could just count everything and everything would be fine. And it was getting to the point where I couldn't trust myself to steer away from that path, because I was just so worried that I would start slipping back into old routines again. So, I mean, I found this, and it's just on a bit of cardboard, really. And essentially, what you can see is basically I'm writing everything down that I was eating a day. And yeah, I mean, that's the way things went every single day. I would get up in the morning and basically decide what I was having that day. And it came to a point where I was just getting fed up with it, and I realised that there were things in the day that could change. For example, my friends might want to do something, and they might go out for a coffee. My dad might come up, and I'd have to change it for that. So it was just getting to the point where I was just really getting fed up with it, and I was ready for change. I was comfortable eating that amount, and I was comfortable with my own body. So I thought, you know what, let's actually try and make a transition here. So I really started to think about what my motivation was behind it, and the motivation was that this behaviour is something that couldn't really carry on. I mean, yeah, it's something that you can manage while you're a student like me, or maybe if you're at home doing nothing with anyone. But the moment that you start getting into work, into a daily routine, or perhaps becoming really social, it's a behaviour that it can't really continue. It's not stable with what you're planning on trying to do. So I thought, okay, that's one motivation. It's just something that can't continue, so I need to get out of it. And the second thing was that I wanted to be healthy. There were so many things that I wanted to do, and I realised that this behaviour was just a comfort behaviour, and just because I felt safe doesn't mean that it was necessarily something that should continue. So I just really wanted to get out of it. So, I mean, if you've got something analogous happening with you, and it could be anything, it doesn't have to be you're counting calories, it could be an OCD, for example. If you're realizing that you actually do want to get out of it, I implore you that you should think of reasons why you want it to stop, and just let that motivate you to start. If you're even, before that point and not realizing that there's a problem, but you are aware that you're unhappy, think about the things that you do in your daily routine, and think, is this something that a normal person would do, or is this something that my friends would do? Compare yourself to people who don't have the disorder. Don't think about people who you've been in an inpatient unit with, because they're obviously going to be slightly less healthy in their behaviours. So what I advise you to then do next is to just take little steps, because you don't want to make drastic changes all of a sudden. So what I started to do was, rather than having X number of grams for a meal, I was getting a feel for what they would look like. So I started to pour it out without actually weighing anything, or without measuring things by volume. And at the start it was difficult, but my weight stayed the same week in, week out, and I became more comfortable. So then I decided to change something else, and the next thing for me was to rather than have a set number of calories to have in a meal, it would just be to have a certain, I think it was like, I wanted to have a certain proportion of carbs to protein to fat, and that could be something as simple as the things that they have on the internet where they say, I think, like, you need to have a fistful of amount of pasta, for example, on your plate, and you need to have X amount of meat, and it was very abstract, and it was something that something that I'd never done before. So then I started to do that, and again, initially it was difficult, but less difficult than if I tried to do it straight away. So by making these small steps, you can actually see the progression, and it just makes the next step a lot easier for you, and it makes you less inclined to failure, and then thinking of yourself as a failure, and then just slipping back to old routines, perhaps even worse. So yeah, I moved on to that, and then maybe 3 weeks later, I was happy with that. So then I just stopped. I was comfortable, and yeah, I've not really counted anything since then. And I mean, I am still making sure that my weight stays the same, and I'm weighing myself every month now compared to the weekly weigh-ins that I would do way back when. But the proof is in the fact that my weight has stayed the same. And I guess if if you are really doubting yourself, there are things that you can do just to check up on the fact that you are doing the right thing. And it's just a matter of taking small steps, really. If you need any advice on this, please feel free to message me. And if you've got any questions related to specific things you're having troubles dealing with, because you might not be the same as me, please feel free to ask me or leave it in the comment section below. And I welcome anything. And if you want to share your own experiences, please feel free to do so. It's a very motivating thing to someone else who might be reading it. So yeah, I'll try and make a video next week. Things are getting quite hectic at the moment. But yeah, thanks for watching.